I'm Trent Gobble, and this is a video on how to make a set of cremation memorial knives. I was asked to encapsulate the ashes of a gentleman into the handle of 4 knives. Along with the ashes, I was asked to cast into the handles some of the things he loved to do with his family. This included hunting, fishing, music, and old trucks. I was given the ashes, some spent ammo, fishing lures, as well as some paint flakes and seat materials from the old truck of his. Mixing resin, make sure you make a little bit extra for the project. You don't want to get down to the last couple drops as you get close to filling up to the top of your pour. I'd say probably stir 2 to 5 minutes or until you don't see any cloudiness left in your resin cup. At this point, my resin is thoroughly mixed, so I take it to the vacuum pot. Looking back, I don't know that this step is completely necessary because you're going to add more air bubbles whenever you add the ashes to the mix. Using a kitchen scale, I weighed the cup of resin to ensure that I poured equal amounts of resin into each mold so that the finish thicknesses were the same. Here I began introducing the ashes to the resin. Add enough ashes to stir in and get to all the corners and things of the mold, but you don't want to add more than what you need because you can't take it out once it's in there. At the end, make sure to be respectful and reclaim any ashes that didn't make it into the mold. Once again, make sure that you've pushed around the ashes and the resin into all the corners of your mold to make sure you don't wind up with any clear spots. At this point, I'm ready to take it to the vacuum pot. I ran the vacuum pot till it was about -25 psi. After 3 to 5 minutes, I opened up the pot to hit the bubbles with the torch or a lighter if that's what you have. I repeated this step 2 or 3 times until there were no more remaining bubbles. Once there were no remaining bubbles, I let the resin cure inside the vacuum pot at atmospheric pressure with the lid on to make sure that there was no dust to get into the resin. My first layer is cured for roughly 24 hours. Now it's time to figure out where to start placing materials to be casted in the second layer. I worked on getting the items in just the right place, but come to find out, when you pour the resin, some of the items that are lighter will move around and you're going to have to put them back in place again. So don't waste too much time getting it just right on this step. Now I start pouring the resin, and I'm trying to pour slow enough that I don't create any new air pockets. Once you get your resin into the form, now's the time to start moving all your items into place. You may have to push things down, you may have to move things around to try to get any air bubbles that may be trapped in, under, or around them. The seat material was the hardest to work with because it kept on wanting to float up to the top because of all the air it had trapped in it. I had to push it down all around to try to get any air bubbles out. Once your items are in place, go ahead and put it in the vacuum pot, and I've sucked it down at -15 psi this time instead of -25. After 2 or 3 minutes, I let the air back in the pot and I put the torch on it. And I had to do this several times until I got all the bubbles out. Remember, this is the last time that you're going to be getting the bubbles out, so now's the time to do it. At this point, I've gotten all the air bubbles out. I've got everything sitting where I want it, and I'm ready for it to cure. So I left it in the vacuum pot again at atmospheric pressure and left it for the next 24 to 36 hours to sit. Now that it's cured, I can take it out of the silicone mold. It was an extremely satisfying process of taking it out of there. I didn't take any video on how I attached the handles to the metal because I wanted this video to focus on the casting and the finishing of the handles. For the general shaping of these knives, I did most of the heavy sanding on a 2x72 inch belt sander. From there I hand sanded from 220 grit to 12,000 grit, but for the sake of time I only showed sanding up to 1,000. I've put links in the description below for any of the items like the silicone mold, the 2-part silicone mix, and the resin that I used for this project. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Also, this is my first video, so if you have any suggestions on things that I could do differently or better, please let me know so I can improve in the future.